Right, everybody, how's it going? My wife and I watched K-pop Demon Hunters a while back, and there's a scene in the movie that I just wanted to talk about for a minute. Let's take a look.
Take your time 왠지 두근대는 밤이야 No 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 So tonight 달 끝까지 달려가 볼까 Yeah 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 Just right 시동에 걸어 웩셀의 발을 홀려 모든 것이 특별해 너 완전 어울려 무엇을 원하든
Okay, obviously it's a little crazy. I'm a big fan of this anime style animation, this Japanese style animation with its hyper expressiveness. I think it's funny. But afterwards, I was thinking about this scene, and I was wondering, like, why is it that I thought this scene is funny? You know, it seems very innocuous and tame. But if they were gender swapped, this would feel like really gross and unsettling. And I was wondering, like, why is that? Why is it, totally acceptable, feels very tame for this dude's shirt to be popping off and his abs showing and these girls just totally ogling over it. Whereas if it was switched around, um, it would feel like it's something out of a bad video, like that you shouldn't be letting your kids watch. So why is it that there's this difference? Why is it acceptable when it's coming from girls and not from guys? So I want to talk about that phenomenon. This really isn't a critique of K-pop Demon Hunters. This is more of a springboard for like why why is it somehow acceptable in our culture for this to come from girls towards guys, but not for this kind of attention to come from guys towards girls? I was thinking about it, and one reason may be that there's a pretty big power imbalance between men and women. 9 times out of 10, you pick a random man off the street, he's going to be stronger than whatever woman you pick out. He's going to be able to overpower her physically. That's just the case. That's how it is. That's biological nature, and you can't change it. Because of that, when men show this kind of attention towards a woman, especially coming from a stranger, the odds are a lot more high that assault or something unpleasant is going to follow that. So for a woman to feel uncomfortable about receiving this kind of attention from a stranger in public is totally rational. Although to be fair, there's also plenty of women who go around looking for this kind of attention, even from strangers in public. So don't get me wrong there. Now, on the other hand, men are almost never going to feel physically threatened by a woman. So they're not going to feel threatened by this kind of attention at all. So maybe that's one reason is that this kind of attention can carry the threat of violence against women when women receive it, whereas against men, they're typically not going to sense that. And so that's the reason. But also, this is kind of like exactly what men want. So women tend to desire relationship over sex, and men tend to desire sex over relationship. That doesn't mean that neither one cares about the other. It doesn't mean women don't care about sex. That doesn't mean that men don't care about relationship. But it means that men typically tend to be more focused on sex, whereas women tend to be more focused on relationships. So you've got if you're a man and there's a woman who's just completely like sexualizing you and ogling you in this way, I mean, that's exactly what you want. You can skip being friends, skip the first date. They're already into you. Perfect. So maybe that's another reason is that this is playing exactly into what men want. So of course they're not going to be bothered by that. But let's talk a little bit about what the Bible says and how we should think about this as Christians. So Jesus said in Matthew 5:27, "You've heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart." So we're going to talk about this verse a little bit, and we're going to see how, Jesus taught that whether this attention comes from men or women, either way, it's wrong. So let's talk about what he means in this verse. I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So that word lustful intent there, lust simply means strong desire. And it's because of this verse, actually, that the word lust has taken on a connotation in our language that is exclusively sexual. Or in other words, if you look at someone with the intent to foster strong sexual desire, you are committing adultery in your heart. And there's no, I mean, this verse only talks about this coming from the man's side. If a man looks at a woman with lustful intent, there's no reason that this wouldn't apply to women as well. The sin is the lustful intent, and that can certainly be something that women do as well, even if women are not as prone to do it. If you look at a woman with lustful intent, if you look at a woman intending to foster, or a man for that matter, with the intent to foster strong sexual desire, you've committed adultery in your heart. That's a sin. Now, notice Jesus doesn't say you've committed adultery. He says you've committed adultery in your heart. There's still a difference between these two things. It's still much worse to commit adultery, but both of these things are sins, and that's what Christ is emphasizing here. It's not good enough just to keep the, is it the seventh commandment? I don't remember the seventh or eighth. I don't remember which commandment. I think it's the seventh. I should look this up real fast. Yeah, it's the seventh. It's not good enough just to keep the seventh commandment. It's you also need to guard your heart and not commit adultery with your heart. So while some people might try to say, oh no, it's fine from either way, men can look at a woman and sexualize her, that's no problem at all. Women can sexualize men, that's no problem at all. That's not what the Bible teaches. This doesn't mean that it's wrong to look at a man or a woman and find them attractive. This doesn't mean that it's wrong to find someone desirable. This doesn't mean it's wrong to find someone beautiful. What it means is that if you are looking at someone with the intent to foster strong sexual desire and inordinate sexual desire, an inordinate attraction to somebody that's not balanced properly, then that is a sin. And that's what we ought to avoid.